Don't mind my face. Something interesting just came up. Ukrainians are withdrawing their troops from Sunumi. Sunumi is now a lost battle for Ukraine. Those of you who follow what is happening in the front lines, you realize that Sunumi was a big disaster for the Ukrainian armed forces. I remember 6 days ago, I posted a video here and I told you guys that Russia now controls the front lines. And some people were like, oh, Timo, you are lying. It's not true. What are you talking about? The video you did is out of pure ignorance. Here we are. Here we are. They've lost Sunumi just like the way they lost Bahamut. Exactly the way they lost Kesk. The way they lost Marinka, Uglada. I follow the front lines update. The point is, if I try putting all these videos here, they're going to take down my channel. It's a must. They've done it before. That is why I'm very skeptical. I don't know whether to put up these videos here or not. By the way, let me give you guys this update. I'll prove to you guys today that the Ukrainians are losing on the front. Let me read this for you. This is a video from one Ukrainian commander, right? Beletsky. So let me read it for you. In 2022 to 2024, Ukraine dominated in innovations. It was the first to create a system of total drone surveillance. A heavy bomber drone underwent an UAV revolution and established the operation of interceptor drones integrated with radars. All of this arose from the ground up as initiative of units we were proud of in the media, but did not scale at the state level. And now, in 2025, Russia, which was following in our footsteps, has already surpassed Ukraine in number of FPV drones. Continue to steal our technological solution and scale them. Okay, so Beletsky said. Exactly. But to be honest with you, when it comes to this drone warfare, it was introduced by Ukraine first on the battlefield. You know, Russia had everything. Talk about heavy bombers, helicopters, anything you could possibly think about in war. Anything, cruise ships, submarines. So the Russians relied on this. Now, the Ukrainians decided to bring up this whole drone warfare because of lack of ammunition. Because they lacked a lot of things. Right? They didn't have that advantage of having these submarines and cruise ships and precision guided missile systems. They didn't have it. So they resulted in this whole drone warfare, things. Now, Russia was doing the exact mistake that NATO did in Poland. They tried combating drones with aircraft, like using fighter jets, air defense systems. That was a pure disaster for the Russian army when they attempted doing that, because it was too expensive. And if you are fighting, and if you are fighting in war of attrition, what you are supposed to do is to preserve your resources, right? Because the war is not going to end anytime soon. So the Russians did a very big mistake. So they later realized that the only way to combat these drones is to also create drones. So what Beletsky is saying here is making a lot of sense here. So it was the Ukrainians who started this whole drone surveillance thing. It's a fact. Let's continue. By the way, I have more news for you guys. I just let them wake up and I'm coming across all this and I'm like, this is a follow-up video of the video that I posted here, and some people were like, oh, Timo, you are lying. It is not true. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. No yawa. Make we continue. You see, I will explain the whole thing, but listen to me first. You see, if you guys observed somewhere last month, the mainstream media, they were celebrating Ukrainians are hating Russian oil pipelines, blah, blah, blah. They were making a whole lot of noise, right? It is true. I reported it on the same platform. At a point, Russia lost about 17 to 19% of their total output. Now, these were pipelines that were going to the west, right? So these pipelines that they were targeting was actually affecting the west more than Russia. So if you're enjoying this content, please hit on the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. So let me read what Flash posted on X, right? Okay. Out of 20 Ukrainian drones sent to strike Russia oil refineries, on average, no more than two reach their targets, right? Ukrainian communication and drone expert Flash. Okay. According to him, such operations are very difficult to execute. Therefore, Ukraine can only inflict serious damage on Russia oil refineries and other oil and gas facilities, but not on protected industrial enterprises or military sites. You see, I keep telling you guys about these goods, fireworks and ships whenever I'm recording. By the way, let's continue. These two UAV carrying dozens of kilos cannot cause serious damage to fortified military sites or enterprises. For example, underground. But oil refineries have large and important elements on the surface that cannot be removed or covered. They are part of technological process and easily targeted. The same applies to all above ground stationary parts of the oil and gas industry to cause significant damage to industrial and enclosed facilities. Ballistic or cruise missiles with a warhead weighing 500 to 800 kilos are needed right flash. This is a fact. You want to destroy oil refinery and you are sending drone. How many kilos can drone carry? You need missiles from cruise ships to destroy them. Now, after reading this whole thing, what I got out of it, or what I understand is, what Flash is trying to say is, most of these Russian refineries, some of them are well protected, some of them are underground. There are only some few parts that cannot be covered. They must be, on the surface. And these are the ones that the Ukrainians are targeting. And they can't do much damage to it. Once they destroy it, the Russians will go back and fix it again. This reminds me of back in 2020, what the Russians were doing. If you guys remember, the Russians back in 2022, they were targeting railway lines, Ukrainian railway lines, back in the days. It got to a point the Russians stopped. The reason was simple, because when they destroyed these railway lines, it took the Ukrainians less than even a week to fix it back, right? So back in the days, what the Russians were doing is, they target the railway lines, which was meant for exploitation of resources, like this ammunition that the Ukrainians were using. So the Russians target this railway line, destroy them. In less than a week, the Ukrainians fix it back and start, so it didn't make sense to them. They decided to stop. And this is exactly the situation that I'm seeing here. Oh, I don't know how many of you have heard the story. I think about 2 days ago, Russian drones entered Romania. And as usual, these guys are crying again. It seems to me like the West and NATO have no answer or solution to this drones problem. Remember I told you guys about the Poland incident that NATO responded very poor. In case of any war with NATO, in case Russia is at war with NATO, NATO is going to suffer a lot. In fact, now the same incident happened in Romania. Russian drones violated Romanian airspace and, well, they couldn't do anything. They are on internet crying. By the way, let's continue. Okay, the General Staff of AFU withdraw the 95th Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces from Sumy, which had lost its combat capabilities. I'm not going to read the whole thing because this is something that I have said multiple times to you guys, so it's going to be total waste of time and energy for me to sit here and read everything for you guys on Telegram. This is a fact. Now Ukrainians are withdrawing their troops from Sumy exactly 6 days ago or a week ago. Exactly what I told you guys. Some of the things I see it happening before it even happens. About a week ago, I reported it here. They said, no, it's not true. Timo, you are lying. It's not. Here we are. Why don't you come out and tell me that, Timo, you are lying again? If things are going well for the Ukrainian armed forces, why are they withdrawing the 95th Brigade from Sumy? In fact, across the front lines, the Russians are advancing at a very fast speed I've never seen before. They're just advanced. I don't know why. You see, our attention is caught by whatever happened in Poland, and this Ukrainian bombardment of Russian refineries. But in the front lines, oh my God. Thank you very much for watching this video. The name still remains Timo360. I love you guys. In fact, your love and support for this channel is It's more than anything I ever imagined, right? Thank you very, very much. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.